Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Southwest.
The New York Yankees' annual appearance in Arlington is always an event, and they'll be here for the next 4 nights. The Yankees come to town playing their best baseball of the season, which began after your Rangers swept them in New York back in May. Coming off a good road trip, the Rangers begin an extended homestand with Matt Harrison on the mound, looking to follow up on his best start in over a year. From Globe Life Park in Arlington, your Rangers welcome the New York Yankees next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Uverse TV. Well, they say that absence makes the heart grow fonder, and if that's the case, the Rangers are as fond as you possibly can be when they get back home to Globe Life Park in Arlington. Tonight they begin a 10-game homestand in front of the home folks as they take on the New York Yankees. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Graves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us for this Monday night of Rangers baseball. Rangers looking to get things going on the right side as they have a favorable home schedule ahead of them for the second half. And, Tom, you have to congratulate Rougned Odor. This young man has been through a lot in his year plus in the major league level. Going down to AAA earlier in the year, coming back. He's now the American League Player of the Week.
He is, Buzz, and when you look at the numbers that Rougned put up for this last week, usually those numbers are reserved for a third-place hitter, a fourth-place hitter, maybe a fifth-place hitter. Rougned is one of the setup guys, the guy that gets on base for the big guys. But this week, he was the big guy. He was driving the bus. He hit close to 400. He hit 3 home runs. He had 3 doubles, triples. He scored 9. He knocked in 8 runs. I don't know what else you could have done, no matter where you were hitting in the lineup. It's been a spectacular return to the big leagues for Rougned, and he definitely earned that award.
And hitting right up at the top of the order now, he has really established himself as a table setter for the Rangers. They appreciate it very much because their offense has gotten into high gear. Well, Matt Harrison will make his 3rd start since coming back off the disabled list. He'll face the Yankees tonight. We'll be back with the starting lineups in the first pitch right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Well, a beautiful night here in North Texas. Globe Life Park. A lot of smiles on Rangers players' faces as we get set to begin this 10-game homestand. And before we start tonight, let's head down and check in with Emily Jones. Hi, Em.
Hey, Buzz. Glad to be back with you. And Matt Harrison, of course, glad to be back in the big leagues, making his third start at the big league level since that spinal fusion surgery. The first one didn't go according to plan. The second one, much better. Here's what his manager saw as far as the differences from start one to start two.
He found a feel, a rhythm that he really liked. You could see it. You can see that the time in between pitches was a lot less in the second time around, and that I think was due to the confidence he had and everything. And he was able to get back up on the mound, get comfortable, and deliver a pitch that he liked, and he knew how to use what he had.
So obviously Matt Harrison learning how to play with his new skill set, a different skill set than he had before the injuries, but determined to make it at this level and give this team a chance to contend and be a part of what it is going forward. Of course, this is a big homestand for this team, one of the longest of the season. It's important for them to establish a home field advantage, which they haven't been able to do so far this season. So, Buzz, a big start for Matt Harrison here tonight.
All right, Emily, thank you. Yeah, I'd love to kick it off with a W against the hated New York Yankees, if you will. Matt facing the Yankees tonight, and Tom is going to tell you about the Yankees starting lineup.
The Yankees will start tonight with Brett Gardner in center field. Leading off, Chris Young will bat second. Alex Rodriguez is the DH, followed by first baseman Mark Teixeira. Brian McCann hits fifth. He's the catcher. Carlos Beltran is in right field. Chase Headley bats seventh. At third base, Didi Gregorius is the shortstop. And batting ninth, getting the start tonight at second base, is Brendan Ryan.
And that lineup put out by Joe Girardi, the eighth-year skipper of the New York Yankees, facing Matt Harrison. Matt, with those numbers, 1-1, a .540 in 2 starts. Trying to build off the good outing he had in Colorado. You heard Jeff Bannister give you his impressions. And Matt Harrison would tell you everything that Jeff said is exactly right. He was much more comfortable, and he hopes to be even more so tonight. Appears to have good command and be in good shape. So he answered a lot of questions for himself about his physical condition, about how well his body would respond after a couple of starts. He has recouped very nicely as he has gotten his work in between starts and feels very positive heading into tonight's start. Well, let's take a look at the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you tonight by Chicken Express. Outfield this evening with Hamilton in left. Leonis Martin back in the lineup in center. Shin-Soo Choo is in right. Mitch Moreland at first. Rougned Odor and Elvis Andrus up the middle. Adrian Beltre at third. And Robinson Chirinos is handling pitches behind home plate this evening. Well, the Yankees come in first place in the American League East. They are 6.5 games clear of the rest of the field. Well, everybody else in that division really has fallen on hard times. Yankees, however, going the other way as Matt Harrison deals strike one to Brett Gardner. Gardner at the top of the order tonight, a .295 average, 10 home runs, 43 driven in. Jacoby Ellsbury, another left-handed hitter that Joe Girardi elected to sit at the start of tonight's game, will hit along with Brett Gardner at the top of that order. Joe Girardi has a lot of ways he can go with the various players that are on his active roster. Swinging strike. It is 1-2.
Well, obviously Matt's velocity is down from what it was at its peak, but he still knows how to pitch. He knew how to pitch when he had the velocity. If he can keep the ball down, make the ball sink, mix in his off-speed pitches, can still be successful. It's just a matter of being a little more careful within the strike zone now.
That breaking ball tried to get the outside corner and just missed. Jerry Meals calling the balls and strikes tonight, a veteran umpire in Major League Baseball. There's the Fox tracker showing you that was 2 or 3 inches off the plate. Now the 2-2, and that's fouled away. Todd, you said something I think is very important, that the movement on the pitches is still there. And, you know, forget about the velocity for a second. If the ball's still moving, then you have something to work with.
Sure.
It's the guy that comes back from an arm problem or, in Matt's case, a back problem, and doesn't have movement on the fastball. He doesn't have much he can do without the velocity.
No.
Odor takes care of Gardner's ground ball, one gone.
You know, when you look at Matt when he was winning 32 games over a 2-year period and his fastball reached into the 90s, sometimes to the mid-90s, if all he had was a straight fastball, he probably wouldn't have won those 32 games. The movement with that velocity, you're right, it buzzes. That's what made him successful. Those pitches down and into the left-hand hitters that are sinking and coming in, those pitches are tough whether they're going 88 miles an hour or 95 miles an hour.
Yeah. I remember a game that he pitched against the Yankees back in Yankee Stadium in 2012, his 18-game win season. That he had 5 double plays turned behind him in the first 6 innings.
Yeah. Yeah, you get that good sinking action on your ball. It's a weapon. You may give up base runners, but you get the ground ball, get the double plays to go along with it, make up for some of those base runners.
Chris Young ahead of the count, 2 balls and no strikes. Young, a .257 average, 11 home runs, 27 driven in. And coming back after a down year last year. And he's ahead of the count now, 3-0. Young signed with the Yankees the tail end of last August. Last 10 ball games, he started to put things together, hitting at .400. There's a strike. 3-1 now. Remember at one time, Chris Young, a highly prized outfielder with the Arizona Diamondbacks. He bounced around a bit. Hits this one in the air to left field. Hamilton, shading his eyes, moves back into the shadows out there, the light standards. And Josh able to handle it for out number 2. Now Matt Harrison, the first 2 outs. And speaking of Matt, how about our Kubota power stats? 50th career win last Tuesday in Colorado. That's the 4th fastest of any Ranger pitcher to 50 wins in team history, 134 games. 3rd fastest, Kevin Brown, and the 3 fastest, Jose Guzman and Bobby Witt. All a little bit faster than Matt, but well, what an accomplishment. He's trying to build on that tonight as he faces Alex Rodriguez with the bases empty and 2 away. .277 the average for the now designated hitter for the Yankees, Alex Rodriguez. 23 home runs, 58 driven in. Both those numbers second on the team to Mark Teixeira. 5th oldest player to have 3 home runs in a game. He did that this last week in Minnesota. Elvis deep and short, easy throw on the first. And Matt Harrison dispatches the Yankees in 1-2-3 fashion on 14 pitches. We played a half inning here at Globe Life Park, no score. For the first, Rangers come to bat here in the bottom half of the inning, and Tom's going to tell you about the Southwest Airlines Texas Rangers starting lineup.
Rougned Odor moves up to the leadoff spot. Shin-Soo Choo will bat second. Prince Fielder is third. Mitch Moreland will bat fourth at first base. Adrian Beltre drops down to the fifth spot. Josh Hamilton is hitting sixth in left field. Elvis Andrus is the shortstop, batting seventh. Leonis Martin bats eighth. And the catcher, Robinson Chirinos, bats ninth.
And that lineup for Jeff Bannister facing the 28-year-old right-hander, Ivan Nova. First pitch from Nova is low for ball one. Scouting report on Nova coming back off Tommy John surgery last year. And this is fifth start, or I should say the 5 starts beforehand, 2 out of 2 and 3, with a .334. And he's gotten a little bit better each time. Chopper to the right side. That's handled by Brendan Ryan for out number 1. Rougned retired. Now Shin-Soo Choo. A little bit inconsistent, which you would expect in your first handful or two coming back from surgery. Rangers will try to see if he's going to throw strikes early. Normally, Ivan Nova, very much a strike thrower, but the reports have been he's not quite as consistent yet as he had been. That's something the Rangers need to find out early. The one away, here's Shin-Soo Choo, bumped up to the number 2 slot this evening. Choo hitting just .232. Goes after that first fastball, and it's out of play. Choo, a dozen home runs, 45 driven in. Coming off a road trip that he just tore things apart. Hit for the cycle in Colorado. Choo ended up going 8 for 20 on the trip. To left field. Going back young. You couldn't find it right away, but plenty of time to locate it. That is out number 2.
Yeah, both left fielders are feeling a little bit fortunate that both balls hit to them were hit high in the air above the sun. And even though they had to block the sun out of their eyes, they weren't hard balls to catch. It's those line drives that are tough.
Now we'll take a look at the rest of the Yankee defense. You saw Young in left. Gardner in center. Beltran is in right. Teixeira at first. Ryan and Gregorius up the middle. Chase Headley at third. And Brian McCann is catching for Ivan Nova. Here's Prince Fielder, who just completely destroyed, almost single-handedly, the New York Yankees in New York back in early May. Fielder overall hitting at .337 for the year. That's still second in the American League. Inside. Prince in that series, the 3 games in New York, went 8 for 14, had a double, 3 home runs, and drove in 9. Here's our batting leaders in the American League. Miguel Cabrera on the disabled list, but still leading with that .350 mark. Chopper to first. Teixeira has it, and it's going to be an easy inning for Ivan Nova. 7-pitch inning for the Yankee right-hander. Rangers down early in order after 1. We are scoreless in Arlington. photo. Just use hashtag Southwest Data Strong Fan, and you just might see yourself on one of our upcoming broadcasts. All this made possible by the good folks at T-Mobile. Scoreless as we head to the top of the second inning. Mark Teixeira to lead things off. And Tex takes low and inside for ball one. Teixeira, well, having a bounce back year this year. Struggled through some injuries the last several years, but he has already eclipsed his home run and RBI total from last year. 24 home runs, 65 RBI for the switch hitting first baseman. Matt Harrison's pretty much had his way with Teixeira. He is 2 for 13 in the past. That ball is hit high in the air to deep left center field. Back at the wall, Leonis Martin, he leaps and makes the catch. Pulled it back in the ballpark to take a home run away from Teixeira.
I didn't think he caught it. Wow. Teixeira couldn't believe it. Teixeira, until he got to second base, he thought it was a home run. I got to see the replay of that one. He went as high as he could. He got to the wall, goes up as high as he can, and catches it right on top of the wall. I don't know if he went over. Let's see. It's hard to tell whether it would have been over, but it would have been at least... might have scaled the wall by an inch, but he went up and got it.
And Teixeira can't believe it.
I don't blame him. That's a bad feeling. When you run 180 feet and assume you've got a home run and then realize you're out, that's not a good feeling.
Goodness gracious. Leonis Martin starting for the first time in 9 games. And he has the ball find him in the second inning. What a play by Martin.
Well, let's say that ball was an inch over the fence. I don't know whether it was or not. It was at least a triple. Well, let's say it's an inch over the fence. That's pretty much the same thing as hitting a home run.
Yeah.
Whether you put one on the board or take one off the board, because as well as Delino has played, I don't know if he could have gotten up that high or not. He would have been there, but whether he could have gotten up as high as Leonis got for that ball, I'm not sure. He's got some hang time. He could probably dunk a basketball, so maybe he could have gotten up that high. But Leonis is a little bit taller.
You know, you talk about, Tom, outfielders going back to the wall and then jumping straight up, and that's exactly what Leonis Martin did.
Yeah, that kind of a play, it's really not that difficult if you get there. Then it's just a matter of, can you jump high enough to catch it? It's not a question of whether you can catch it, just a matter of whether you can get high enough to catch it. I still go back to the best play I've ever seen was the one that Gary Matthews caught here, where he sprinted about 30 yards, dead run, jumps into the wall, and goes up over the fence to catch it. Now, those are the ones that are tough.
2-2 to McCann, and he pops it up. Elvis Andrus over in the second base spot, waiting for it to come down. That is out number 2. And before Carlos Beltran comes in, why don't we welcome in Jim Knox?
Oh, I appreciate it, Buzz. Look who we got here. Willie Robertson, the CEO of Duck Commander. Oh, of course, you know him, Duck Dynasty. Now, Willie, you got to throw out the first pitch. What was that like?
I did. Well, you know, I've kind of throw like a little knuckle slurve. And,
knuckle what?
Knuckle slurve, yeah. And the slurve is not for sliders, for slow. So it always goes across the plate. Doesn't have a lot of heat on it, but it can really fool bat.
A nice pitch. Now, I understand when it comes to organized sport, how many games have you participated in?
I've never participated in one organized baseball game in my life. Yeah. So we grew up way out in the woods in the country and couldn't get up to practice. So baseball wasn't my thing.
But you grew up and you live now in West Monroe, Louisiana, and you're a Ranger fan. You keep in touch with the Rangers. You watch baseball a lot. You're also a business partner with who?
Adam LaRoche. He plays for the Chicago White Sox. I missed him when he was here that week, but yeah, he and I have been friends a lot, so I know a lot of baseball players, and a lot of the baseball guys are outdoorsmen because the season's perfect. You know, you're done about October, you can get out. I've been in a lot of stadiums, but this is the closest Monroe, I believe, and my first baseball game ever was at a Texas Ranger game, but I wasn't throwing the first pitch. I was on the top row with my back to nothing.
Well, look at you now. You're on a suite. Appreciate it. Good seeing you. More with Ranger right after this. All right, Willie. Thanks a lot.
Well, Ivan Nova facing Mitch Moreland to start things off. Mitch, the number 4 hitter, middle third of the Ranger order to face Nova here in the second. Moreland at 285, 16 home runs, and 51 RBI. Mitch, a couple of RBI in yesterday's ball game. Goes after the next pitch and pops it up, shallow left field. Young got a late start. Gregorius going out, but Young coming on.
Wow.
And has to make a good running catch. Either he didn't see the ball or he completely misjudged it off the bat. He got a terribly late start, but good enough speed to outrun his mistake.
Yeah, he had to run. He had to run a long way to catch it. Let's see. Yeah, he either misjudged it or couldn't find it right away. He stood his ground for about a second before he turned it on and barely got to it.
And he was the only one who was going to get there. Gregorius was clear over on the second base side of second base.
Yeah, that's the one where Gregorius is hoping the left fielder gets it, because as a shortstop going back on it, it's a pretty tough play. He didn't want any part of that. But Young has been a center fielder early in his career. A little later on in his career, but he still runs well.
Well, 1 out. Here's Adrian Beltre batting at 259. And he takes Nova's pitch inside. 2 balls and no strikes. Adrian, 3 out of 15 in his career against the hard-throwing right-hander. Nova with a pretty good sinking fastball when he's throwing the ball like he can. Knockdown slider. Adrian backing out. 3-0. Adrian, even though he hit 333 in the last 13 ball games, he's hit the ball even harder than that. Saw that graphic for he moved down in the order first time in quite a while that he hasn't hit either 3rd or 4th in that Ranger order. But Jeff Bannister's explanation today, he's going to change things up a little bit, see how the lineup looks to him. That ball's lashed to 3rd, but Headley, a nice play when he throws out his counterpart. 2 gone. Well, folks, Monday, August 17th is the Rangers Cap Night. All Rangers merchandise stores, we're offering 15% off of caps from now through August 17th. Plus, wear your Rangers cap to the ballpark on the 17th or any Monday after the 17th and get $5 off your game ticket. Get those Rangers caps going. Save you some money. Here's Josh Hamilton, a little looper out in the left center. That's in for a base hit. Now the first base hit of the game. Josh Hamilton softly into left center. Next will be Elvis Andrus.
Fastball tailing away from Josh. It looked like he's trying to go the other way. Still a little bit out in front of it and hits it right off the end of the bat. A cue shot into left field.
A 1 on 2 out. Elvis steps to the plate, hitting at 250. He's just a point shy of his highest mark all year long. Done a lot of good work in the last couple of weeks. Lines one toward the corner in left field. It is down and going to the wall. Hamilton streaking around 3rd. He's coming in to score. Elvis at 2nd with the RBI double, and the Rangers lead it 1-0.
Elvis stays hot. Came into the game over the last couple of weeks, swinging the bat really well, getting his extra base hits and knocking in some runs. And when you're hitting down in the 7th spot in the order, that's what you're expected to do. You're going to come up with men on base. And if the lineup's going to click, then it's up to the guy hitting 7th to knock in some runs. And nice 2-out rally. Little harmless single to left, followed by the double to left. And it brings in the first run for the Rangers. Good job by Elvis, staying hot.
Elvis now increasing his hitting streak to 7 straight ball games. And over that 7-game streak, he has driven in 5 runs. Didn't pay much attention to how many runs Elvis was driving in when he was hitting up at the top of the order. But now in run-producing spot in the order, yeah, you pay attention to it. Well, here's Leonis Martin back, as we mentioned, into the lineup after not starting for the last 8 ball games prior to tonight. Leonis got a base hit yesterday as a pinch hitter to snap an 0 for 16 funk that he had been in. Average at .218. And Elvis diving back as Gregorius got in behind him. Well, Elvis now with the RBI has 35 for the year. Back-to-back base hits with 2 outs here in the Rangers' second. 1 ball, no strikes as Nova comes back to the plate. Slowly topped down the first baseline, but it's foul. Our AT&T U-verse rewind. Here it is. Gary Matthews Jr. That's an amazing play.
He goes up on the wall with his foot to get higher and then catches it with his glove turned the other way. Leonis gets to the wall, goes up and takes one back, but I think Gary's right up there with the best I've seen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He couldn't have gotten that high without planting his foot into the wall and jumping.
And Leonis a base hit to center. Here comes Elvis. He will score without a throw. And with 2 out, the Rangers have put 2 on the board and lead it 2-0.
Well, we're talking about Leonis saving a run, which is the same thing as basically hitting a home run. And now he comes up and knocks in a run. So a good start. 2 innings, he's made a beautiful catch to maybe bring back a ball. And now he's driven in a run. Nice 2-out rally for the Rangers. 2 outs, nobody on. Soft single, double, and a solid base hit up the middle. Big hole up the middle. Leonis found it. The Rangers have a couple of runs against the Yankees.
Well, 3 consecutive 2-out base hits. Rangers out on top, and here's Robinson Chirinos. The hot Robinson Chirinos. 229. He has driven in 33 and has 9 home runs as he takes strike 1. Robinson not particularly thrilled with that strike call, but being the catcher, and he'll have to deal with home plate umpire Jerry Meals, he's not going to say a whole lot to him. At least not yet. 0-1 the count. There goes Martin. The pitch is a ball to throw to second. It goes into center field, and he may have interference, but McCann came up throwing to second and bumped Chirinos. Now, Jerry Meals, the home plate umpire, is looking at things, and he's listening to McCann, but showing no inclination to call batter interference. Joe Girardi, next catcher, full well knows what the parameters are for batter interference, and he knows he's not going to win that argument. Yeah, Jeff Bannister, also a former catcher. Now the contact, you saw McCann's left foot contacting Robinson Chirinos' back foot, his right foot.
Basically adds up to tough luck for Brian McCann right there. Robinson, what can Robinson do? He just stood there.
Don't step on his foot next time.
That's right.
So it goes down as a stolen base and an error on the throw. Throw on McCann. Leonis Martin doing a little bit of everything in the early going.
Well, he's telling the skipper, hey, I don't like sitting on the bench.
Right.
I'll show you I can play a little bit.
That's the only way you're going to get back in there is by doing things that he is.
Well, his problem right now is not only does he have to play well, but he's got to combat the way that Delano's playing right now, too, and that's going to be pretty tough. Delano's playing some great baseball.
Now we'll take a look at our lows. Never stop improving. And we're talking about Robinson Chirinos. Last 10 games, there's that 400 average and an OPS of 1055. The previous 13 games, not quite so good. 163 and an OPS of about half that. So that's pretty good improvement by Robinson Chirinos. Never stop improving by Lowe's. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Laid off that breaking ball.
The thing about for Leonis playing well is you're not necessarily only competing against Delano for the center field spot. Delano's going to play center field. He's getting a night off tonight, but he's going to play center field the way he's playing right now. The 2 other spots are out there too, and manager be much more agreeable to giving guys days off and letting you play a little bit more often when you're playing well. Otherwise, he's going to kind of push the other guys to play every day.
Yeah. Now Torino's down swinging. That'll do it, but the Rangers string together 3 2-out hits. They plate a couple of runners. We'll go to the third. 2-0 Rangers. Is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer now to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Now Rangers on top 2-0. Matt Harrison back to the mound. He will work to the bottom third of the Yankee order. And Chase Headley promptly bangs one into right center for a base hit. Chu cuts it off. Headley aboard. That is the first base runner allowed by Matt Harrison. Headley a leadoff single in the third. Now Didi Gregorius will come up.
A lot of the Yankee hitters, there's only been 7 of them, but several of them have been out in front of Matt's offerings and hit him off the end of the bat. Headley did a good job that time. He waited, didn't try to pull the ball, and hit it solidly. Went the other way and found the hole in right center field. Headley's been hot too the last couple of weeks.
Sure has. Didi Gregorius, shortstop for the Yankees, up there from the left side, a .242 average. And he pounds one to right field. Chu is going back to the wall. That ball's gone, and we've got a brand new ball game. Gregorius with his 5th home run of the year. It's the Rangers 2 and the Yankees 2.
Well, Gregorius is definitely not known for his power, but we've seen him hit a couple of home runs. Saw him hit that one in Arizona when he was playing for the Diamondbacks against Yu Darvish late in the ball game. Looked like Darvish had the game. Of all people, Gregorius stepped up, turned the game around. And he gets a pitch hanging near the middle of the plate, inside part of the plate. Gets a hold of it, shows enough power to sneak it out in the home run porch.
No, we start over. And Brendan Ryan taking a strike. That ball hit it into the 4th row out there in the lower home run porch. So Gregorius 5 home runs and 23 runs driven in now. And there's a drive hit deep down the left field line. Hamilton into the corner. It is off the wall. Josh falls down. Ryan picking him up and putting him down. He's going for 3. The throw is not in time. Adrian thought the ball got there in time, and I think you're right. He's right, but he didn't have the glove down low enough. He had to catch the ball, which was about belt high, and then drop the tag down. And I think Brendan Ryan slid in underneath that.
Josh was going for the ball. He gets a little too close to the wall. Yeah, that's a close one, but it looked like he got his foot underneath it. And then when the ball kicked by him, oh, I don't know. He had to make a great throw, and he made a great throw. From the wall in left field, one hop, perfect throw to third base. Got close to the wall, the ball kicked by him. He knew he was going to have to make the throw to third base. Ryan never stopped. As he goes into the corner, he's thinking he's got a chance to catch it. Now he's too close to the wall. He's hoping he can block it. Obviously he couldn't, but he knows he's got to make this throw to third, and he uncorks a beautiful one-hop throw to third. Well, it looks like Ryan got his foot in there first.
Yep, that's the information I think that Jeff Bannister got from Steve Buechele and Joey Pravinsky upstairs. So, single, 2-run home run, and triple. And now with nobody out, Rangers will pull the infield all the way in. Brett Gardner in the top of the order, up to face Matt Harrison. Gardner rounded out to second to begin things here tonight. So Gardner a 280 or 294 average. And he takes that breaking ball that's too low. Gotta be careful with Gardner. He has 10 home runs. He has driven in 43. So even though he's hitting at the top of the order, not exactly a little guy as far as production. He's not a slap hitter. Matt falling behind now, 2 balls and a strike. Good look from our RF camera roaming around Globe Life Park tonight. Beautiful scene, especially since the Rangers haven't seen it in a couple of weeks. High and tight, spins him around, and the count moves to 3-1. Well, Gardner hitting in the leadoff spot will be followed by Chris Young. Rangers in at the cut of the grass. All 4 infield positions. Now time called as Gardner not quite ready. The Yankees answered the 2 spot the Rangers put on the board in the top of the second. And that's inside, ball 4. And Gardner draws the walk. Now runners at the corners and nobody out. And Mike Maddox going to make a quick visit out to the mound. Well, we have a minute here. Why don't we send it over to John Radigan, who has a Mazda game break for us.
All right, Buzz, thanks very much. White Sox and Red Sox, and it's a high-scoring affair in Boston. White Sox.
Battle of the Sox heating up in there. Now that conference concluded. Chris Young, who flied to left field in the first, now will face Harrison. Chris Young, 11 home runs, 27 RBI, now hitting at 256. Fly ball left center field. Hamilton into the alley, makes the catch. Tagging at third is Ryan. He will score as the throw comes into second. And Chris Young gets the Yankees out in front with a sacrifice fly. It's now 3-2 New York. And Alex getting a nice round of hellos.
You know, life is funny. Baseball's funny. Last year, when A-Rod is suspended from baseball for steroid use, the Yankees looked for every way they could find to void his contract.
Yeah.
They would gladly avoided his contract to get out from underneath the contract, so they didn't have to pay him. They weren't able to do it, so they had to keep him. They brought him to spring training, and now they're glad they've got him. They might not be in first place without him. It's funny how that works. Would have gotten out of the contract, gladly gotten rid of him, wanted to get rid of him, didn't want him on the ball club. Now he's an integral part of their team, batting third for them, and one of the leaders of their offense. Just amazing how things can turn around, good or bad, but certainly good for Alex.
Baseball has a cruel sense of irony sometimes.
It does.
1-1 pitch to him. Pulled to Beltre. To second, they get one. Odor making sure the Gardner gets down.
He did, boy.
And that is around the horn, a 5-4-3 double play, and that'll do it for the Yankees. But they go ahead with 3 runs on 3 hits, nobody left. 2.5 in the books, 3-2 New York. Giants come to Globe Life Park this Friday through Sunday. Great seating inventory is still available at TexasRangers.com. Don't miss your chance to see this rare regular season appearance by the Giants right here in North Texas. Well, Rangers now find themselves down by 1 to the Yankees as Rougned Odor leads off the bottom of the 3rd inning. Odor grounded out to second to begin things for the Rangers tonight. 0 for 1, hitting at 270. Nova back to the plate. 2-0.
Good spot to be in. Leadoff hitter. Big guys coming up behind you. 2-0 count. Seen 2 fastballs. Already had 1 at bat. Hit a fastball. Probably going to get another one right here.
He did. A little bit quick with it.
Yeah, a good swing at it.
2-1. Odor hit some home runs on the road trip. Just completed a road trip. That's unbelievable. How quick he can be on the pitch inside.
Yeah, his swing just looks much more compact and quick now. It was bigger, wilder early in the season. But what a credit to him to know what he had to do, accomplish it, turn it around, and come back to be the way he is right now.
This one popped up. Headley making the call on the catch. He called off Brian McCann. And Chase Headley makes the grab right at the top step of the dugouts for the Yankees. That's out number 1.
Rougned will probably be a little upset with him in that at bat. Ahead in the count, good fastball to hit. It's hard to do it every single time.
Sure is.
When you hit 300, obviously the old cliche goes, you're making out 70% of the time.
Well, if it was easy to do, you'd have a hard time finding guys to pitch. Say, forget that.
Games would last a lot longer.
Jin-Soo Choo takes inside for ball one.
I guess what the accurate thing to do is he has been making it look pretty easy.
Yeah.
That's for sure. The way he's hit since he's been back.
No doubt about that. Choo, a fly ball to left his first time. And he takes ball two. Nova, 31 pitches thus far, and 17 strikes, 14 balls. And this is the issue that he had as far as the Yankees were concerned a couple of times, where the ball strike ratio was hovering around 50-52% on the strike side, but that's not nearly enough for a major league pitcher. Nova to the wind and a 2-1 to Choo. 2-2. Ideally, you'd like to be in the mid-60s someplace. 60% strikes, 64, 65, 66%. Start getting down around that 50%. You're giving hitters a lot of cripples to shoot on. As you mentioned, Nova had Tommy John surgery a year ago, April, and just activated the end of June by the Yankees. Check swing foul. It's still 2-2. So tonight, this is almost a hospital matchup with Matt Harrison coming back from the back surgery, and Ivan Nova coming back off Tommy John surgery. It's becoming more and more common to talk about guys coming back from Tommy John as the years go on. Seems like that's almost standard equipment for a lot of pitchers now. Got him swinging. Nova with that good curveball. Gets his second strikeout. There are two gone for Prince Fielder.
Pretty good assortment of pitches for Nova. Changes speeds and drops in a beautiful downward breaking curveball straight over the top. You can see the spin almost, as they say, 12-6 straight down. Looks like a strike. Tough to take with two strikes, that's for sure.
Yeah, Prince Fielder takes a backdoor hook for strike one. Fielder grounded out to Teixeira at first in the first. Prince a .336 average now. Well, not exactly where Nova wanted it, but the change of speeds kind of fooled Prince. It's 0-2. Prince coming off a trip that was below his standards a little bit. His standards are pretty high. He was 10 for 32. That's a .313 average. Pokes that one foul. And the count remains no balls, two strikes.
Anyone else want to high-five me?
Don't know you guys, but I'll give you a high five.
When guys are that pumped up, sometimes it's better not to high-five them. End up with a broken finger. A little bit of adrenaline flowing after that catch.
Fielder going after that breaking ball with no success. McCann completes the strikeout at first, and Nova has a 2-strikeout, 1-2-3 inning. Rangers gone in the third after 3. 3-2 New York.
trail. Of course, the big star, lone survivor, went out to be a big movie hit. You grew up in Willis, Texas, and everybody knows your story, but you came out here today, got to throw out the first pitch. Big Ranger fan, what was that like, Marcus?
It was, hoping you would ask, because Will and my brother, my twin, threw it in straight, and everybody's like, well, you kind of...
Was that you had the little high one?
Here's the deal. Is anybody can come in here and throw it to home plate? It takes a real man to throw it over there and aim at the mascot. And I figured this is the first chance to get to do this at Texas Stadium, big Texas Ranger fan. So, are you going to remember me for throwing one straight down the pipe, or are you going to remember you aiming at the mascot? And here we are.
Yeah, we remember you for that. Okay. But Steve Buechele was catching that.
That's my excuse.
He kind of looked up and looked around and kind of threw his hands up. No,
the real baseball fans are like, that's crap. It's complete crap. But I had to come up with that whole thing, right? Like,
that is good. Now, after the movie, give us an update. What are you doing now? What's up?
You know what? That kind of turned my life upside down as just a country boy, Texas country boy, and married a good woman. I got a great family, and I'm back home here in Texas, and I'm just kind of trying to be a good man, a good father, and a good husband. That's exactly what I try to do.
Well, congratulations. Appreciate the time. Where did that one go?
It was hit too hard.
All right, Buzz, back to you.
Drive to shortstop.
You're blocking my view.
That was hit so hard, Nazi didn't even see it.
Glad it didn't go over the fence. That's all I'm glad it did. Appreciate it, Mark. Good to see you. Appreciate it.
Elvis knew where it was. That's the one that counts. Elvis handling Teixeira's rocket for an out.
I'd like to be Teixeira in this game. He's had one taken back for maybe a home run, and then that shot to shortstop. That's just 0 for 2 right there.
And Brian McCann takes a strike. Joining us now after we got through with Noxie and everybody else, Mark McLemore back in the booth. He is here for the middle couple of innings. Nice to see you again, Mac.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Good to be back in this heat.
Isn't it nice?
It is nice.
Got off the plane last night and he said, oh, yeah, it's summer.
We're home. We're home.
About 11:15 or so, 92. Just about right. 0-2 to McCann. The ball and 2 strikes. We'll take you back to Mark Teixeira's out. Look out.
Snow coned it.
I don't think he really wanted to put his hand up there, but he knew he had to.
Didn't have a choice. Couldn't short arm that one.
Now, one thing I know that he wasn't going to do was let the glove get off the hand. That was not going to happen. No. McCann had a pop out to short his first time up there. 2-2 pitch. And the count now is full. Yankee Ball Club comes in here doing some pretty good things of late. They've gotten their road record back to an even 500 now. McCann's going to drop that in front of Chu, who thought about it and decided to lay back and catch it on the bounce. This all of a sudden is a very formidable Yankee team in that Eastern Division.
You know, they've put something together. Something's turned around since we played them last in May. They weren't a very good team back then for whatever reason, but now they've definitely turned things around. The offense is clicking. They're swinging the bats. They're getting great pitching, especially from the bullpen. Those 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys get the job done and shut things down. So they've kind of made it, almost a 6-inning ball game, with the way the back end of that bullpen is. So you've pretty much got to get to them before then, because those chances of doing things late get pretty tough.
Yeah, and that was the point that Tom made in the pregame, that this is a very similar situation to the way Kansas City was last year, going down the stretch. 3 guys at the tail end of the bullpen were lights out on a daily basis. That ball's hit well to center field, but Leonis able to get a good jump and make the grab on Carlos Beltran's shot. That's out number 2. And you're right, Mac. They do turn it into a 6-inning game. If they have the lead after 6 innings, the Yankees very rarely give it up.
Yeah, I think most contending teams are that way. Maybe not 6 innings, but 7 innings.
Right.
It's tough to find 3 guys that are that good at the back of the bullpen. But if you've got a 8th inning guy, maybe 1 or 2 7th inning guys that you can split that time with, and the 8th and 9th inning guy, then you definitely shorten that game. But you look at those numbers there with those 3 guys at the end of the Yankees bullpen, they make it a much shorter game.
Well, I'll give you the statistic that the Yankees put out, and when they're leading after 6 innings, they are 41-2. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, those two might have come when those guys weren't available.
Yeah, probably.
You know, Miller was on the disabled list for a couple of weeks, I think, and Betances can't pitch every day. But as Wade Davis and Greg Holland, the 8th and 9th inning guys for Kansas City, that's about as good as it gets. But as good as they are, I'm not so sure they're better than Miller and Betances.
And, you know, you better believe the opposition knows that.
Sure.
They know that, hey, we've got to get to the starter and get him out quick, so we're not having to deal with, you know, the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys. You just don't want to do that. So opposing teams know what that game plan is when they play the Yankees ball club.
2-1, the count to Headley. On the outside corner, it is 2-2.
The manager knows it because he's certainly concerned about wins and losses. The hitters know it because they don't want to go 0 for 1 at the end of the game, because that's pretty much what's going to happen. The opponents against those two guys, Betances and Miller, excuse me, Betances and Miller, the opponent's batting average is like 110 against both of them. So I mean, you basically go 1 for 10 against those guys.
Yeah, and
more often than that, you strike out.
You may take an offer, but it's not a comfortable offer.
No, that's the problem.
No, no way. You got 6'8", 250 pounds, throwing 100 miles an hour at you.
Headley pops it up, and Mitch Moreland backpedaling, handles it in fair territory, and that'll do it for the Yankees. No runs ahead. And they strand a runner. We finished 3.5. So Yankees 3 and the Rangers 2. Set up tomorrow's pitching matchup for you. We're not sure who TBA is for the Yankees, but we'll find out. Promise we'll have a name on that TBA tomorrow for you. Martin Perez makes his third start. He was 0-1 with a very fine .491 in his first couple of outings back from his own Tommy John surgery. Get it back on Fox Sports 1 tomorrow night. Mitch Moreland skied to left field in the second inning. Mitch leading off here in the fourth. Rangers trailing 3-2. And Nova missing high. It's 2 balls, no strikes. Mitch, 7 out of 25 on the road trip. That was a .280 average. It's this one well to left field. Going back is Young. It's over his head. One hop off the wall. Moreland steaming into second. with a rocket of a double to start off the Ranger fourth.
That thing shot over his head like he was standing still. That's Mitch at his best when he's lining the ball to left center field. Good job. Outside part of the plate. Crushed it. That's a fairly shallow left field that Young is playing, so he didn't have a prayer to get back on that one.
Well, for the Rangers now, 4 base hits. They have the same number as the Yankees. They trail by 1 run. Moreland at second. Nobody out for Adrian Beltre. And a hopper over the mound. That's going to get Moreland to third. Ryan on to first. Beltre out, but he has a productive out as he advances Moreland, who's now at third base with 1 out for Josh Hamilton. So Mitch carrying the tying run in this ball game in the fourth. Hamilton in a position now where contact is essential. That's all you're looking for, to get the ball preferably airborne to the outfield, but contact up the middle of the diamond somewhere will get the run home, because the infield, as you can see, is playing back. Josh looped in a single his first time up, and he takes the breaking ball. 1 ball, no strikes.
In this situation, you're probably going to see slow pitches. So if you're Josh, just try to play Pepper with the shortstop. Don't try to pull it. Try to go to left field. Sooner or later in this bat, you're going to get a slow curveball or a changeup.
Laid off that good curveball. 2 balls, no strikes.
And if you're waiting to hit it the other way, it's easier to identify the pitch and take it when it's a ball. When you're up there trying to pull the ball, a lot easier to swing wildly at that slow pitch in the dirt.
Yeah, right now he's pretty much needs to hit the ball in the air. The Yankee infield's playing halfway, and Mitch Moreland's kind of close to third base, not getting a very big lead, and not a fast runner. So even a medium ground ball, they're probably going to come to the plate and try and get Mitch.
But depending on the runner, Matt, that's how deep you play when the infield's in. Doesn't mean you have to play on the grass to be in there.
Right. It doesn't mean you have to play on the grass. It depends on your arm and who the runner is.
3-0 pitch to Hamilton. That's in at the knees, 3-1.
Well, right now, Mitch isn't getting his secondary needs to go out as far as the third baseman's secondary, where the third baseman's playing right now. And right now, he's probably about 4 or 5 feet short of that.
Josh waiting. Nova working from the stretch. The 3-1 pitch. Sliced down the left field line. That's going to tail back into the seats. We're going to take a look, Headley, and left fielder Young.
And so what happens in that at bat? He gets a 3-1 fastball, and only Nova pumped it up to 94 miles an hour. First pitch he's thrown 94 miles an hour. Just a tad late on that one.
Well, the count is gone full. Hamilton hitting 6th in the order tonight. He'll be followed by Elvis Andrus. Elvis already with an RBI double to his credit. Moreland coming down the line from third, a step at a time. Nova sets, and the payoff pitch. Check swing. Did he go? No, he did not.
Whoa, that's some bat control right there.
Able to check his swing, draws the walk. So runners at the corners with Elvis coming up.
How many guys are strong enough to stop that big old bat that he uses right there before you go through the strike zone?
You see Josh trying to get that foot down early. He had a pretty good idea that he was going to see a breaking pitch or an off-speed pitch on that pitch. So he tried to get that foot down early and just get ready. And I think he heard you, Tag, about trying to play Pepper, because he was in position to do that.
Yep. Well, Elvis is swinging the bat well right now, so certainly don't mind seeing him up there.
And Elvis drove in his 35th run of the year with a double in the 2nd inning. Nova, a belt high set, and the first pitch. Hitting. Looked like an off-speed pitch, a breaking ball that just slipped out of Nova's hand. And Elvis trotting on down to first with no damage done.
Well, if you're going to get hit, that's not a bad pitch to get hit with. The guy's throwing 94 miles an hour. You don't want that fastball.
And you can see from our slow motion camera that was a curveball. That spin on there and spun right into the hip pocket area of Elvis Andrus. So bases full now with one out. And Leonys Martin, who had an RBI single in the second, will try and get the Rangers at least even, if not ahead. You got Moreland, Hamilton, and Andrus, third, second, and first. Ball one. Well, Leonys base hits in each of his last two at bats. His at bat yesterday and the first one here today. Average up to 221. Nova okays the sign from McCann. A ball and a strike. To be honest, not started any of the last 8 games, but done a pretty good job in these situations. Runner at third and less than 2 out of getting that runner home. Martin just 1 for 9 on the just completed road trip. Infield, up the middle, a double play depth. Both corners are up. 1-1 pitch. Slowly hit to Teixeira. His only play is to home. They get the force on the sliding Moreland. The bases remain loaded, but they're now 2 outs. Robinson Chirinos.
Leonys is at his best, like so many hitters, going back through the middle, waiting on the ball, driving it the other way. But you get the bases loaded in that situation, you get a little over anxious, get out in front of it, try to pull it, and kind of play right into this kind of a pitcher's hand. Guy with sinking fastball to a left-hand hitter. You get out in front of it, more often than not, that's what you're going to do. Kind of hit it off the end of the bat, hit a ground ball.
The first pitch to Robinson Chirinos is inside for ball 1. Robinson struck out his first time to the plate. Chirinos, in his last 19 ball games in this ballpark, has been a .328 hitter. He's had 7 doubles, 2 home runs, and driven in 7. He's got a chance here to do some major damage. With the bases full of teammates and 2 outs in the bottom of the 4th inning, Rangers trailing by a run. Nova back to the plate. Jammed in. Gregorius on to first, and Nova works out of the difficulty. Rangers no runs on 1 hit. They strand 3. We'll go to the 5th inning, 3-2 New York. is brought to you by Southwest Airlines and by Mazda. Well, the Yankees come to bat here in the top of the 5th inning. Matt Harrison back to work. Rangers trailing 3-2. Didi Gregorius, who had the big 2-run home run in the 3-run Yankee third, is up there. Gregorius now 5 home runs for the season. 244 average. Chops that one foul to make it a no-ball, 2-strike count. Hits are even at 4 thus far through the first 4 innings. Yankees put 3 of their hits together. And a sacrifice fly to come up with their 3 runs. Rangers put 3 of their hits together. That only could come up with 2 runs. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Matt Harrison, 62 pitches on a rather warm summer's evening here at Globe Life Park. This is inside to even the count at 2-2. Gregorius was acquired by the Yankees from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Pitch foul back. That was last December, rather. A 3-team deal. Detroit was in there also, and Shane Green went from the Yankees to Detroit, while Gregorius came from Arizona to New York. One gone. Let's go back to the double play a couple of innings earlier. Matt, take it away.
I like this. You see Odor slightly pull up the middle towards second base. A-Rod hits a sharp ground ball to Beltre. He picks the one hopper and gives it to Odor. And Odor does something that he hadn't been doing before. He drops down on this runner because this runner's real close. And when I say drop down, he takes his arm down below to get that runner down, so the runner doesn't really have an effect on taking him out. And that's something that second basemen and shortstops learn how to do early in their career. Now, you'll really get to see what I'm talking about. You'll see the runner go down and end up on his back with his slide. You see Gardner, he'll duck down, and that's what a second baseman and shortstop has to be able to do. They have to be able to come from down below to take care of themselves. And I enjoyed doing that, especially to guys that I didn't particularly care for. So, and they only,
throw the submarine pitch on.
Absolutely, I'd be out there, and I'd even have friends, guys that I did like on first base, and I just look over at them and whistle and give them that little, hey, you better get down, and then they know exactly what you're talking about. So it's a lot of fun when you can do it and get out of the way.
Right.
Not so much fun when you try to do it and it gets you.
Yeah, and it's too late.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I imagine the middle infielders look at each other, shortstop and second baseman. In our day, Buzz, it would have been Hal McRae or Don Baylor.
Yeah.
And they say, get it to me quick, man.
That's right.
I don't care where it is, just get it here quick, because I know they're coming.
Listen, I've seen, seen games with those guys taking, shortstops and second basemen out, and I would just say, hey, just throw it to first. Don't throw it to me. Forget that.
Ryan out. Corner to corner, 2 gone. Brett Gardner.
They weren't dirty. They were clean plays.
They were.
They just went in hard.
The Hal McRae rule, came in after the '76 playoffs. McRae took Willie Randolph 20 feet into the left field
by sliding past the bag,
sliding past the bag and rolling.
He would roll.
Where he ended up on he ended up on the grass.
Yeah, almost.
Oh, well, that might
rolled him up like
that might not be that clean.
No. That was the playoffs,
Did it matter with McRae?
No,
it didn't. Every game was a playoff for him.
But no, that was the one where he was, and Randolph had come off the bag a long way toward the middle of the infield, and Mac just went right after him. They were on the grass on the infield side.
Oof. That's rough.
Yeah.
And actually that's one thing that Odor is going to have to work on as well, coming across the bag to the infield side of the bag to take those throws. And when you do that, most of the time the runner, he goes to the backside or goes right at the bag, and he's nowhere close. So that's one thing that I'd like to see him work on and get better at, is coming across the bag, and then he doesn't even have to jump most of the time.
Pitch to Gardner's outside. It's 2 balls and a strike. Brett Gardner 0 for 1, a ground out and a walk. Matt Harrison now has retired the last 4 consecutively and 5 of the last 6. And he misses low. 3-1 to Gardner. Well, Gardner, of course, with very good speed. You don't want to walk him if you can help it. Put him on with 2 outs. You have Chris Young waiting in the on-deck circle. Outside corner, Jerry Meals a little bit slow ringing that right hand up. Almost froze by his side. Runs scored this year. Brett Gardner with 67, 4th in the league. How about Mike Trout? Rangers kind of pumped his total up a little bit during that series. He had some kind of series, having some kind of year again. Check swing, close, strike 3. Matt Harrison turning Brett Gardner into a statue. That'll do it. A 1-2-3 inning. We played half the ball game tonight. Yankees lead by 1. Of the 5th inning, a 3-2 Yankee lead. Odor hitting that top spot, 0 for 2 tonight, and he takes a Nova curveball for strike 1. Brugman had a ground ball to second, a foul pop to Chase Headley, the 3rd baseman. Nova to the wide, the right-hander deals to the plate and misses high. Well, Rugden, in case you missed it, the American League Player of the Week for last year, his first honor as such in his career. And I have a feeling there are going to be a few more in the future for Rugden. He is right now on fire, really doing everything that the Rangers could hope for. The award based on last week's play when Odor hit .385 for the week. He scored 9 runs, had 3 home runs and 8 RBI over 6 games. And he rolls over on one out to the second baseman Ryan. That's out number 1. And let's get on down to Emily Jones, who has more on Rugnet Odor.
Well, as you mentioned, the American League Player of the Week honors for Rugnet Odor, and for his manager, it's nice to see his second baseman living up to his reputation.
I heard about it when I first signed and started learning about all the players and really just everybody talking about Odor And this type of player, what we're seeing now, and I'm happy that we're seeing it now. So, but yeah, every ball club needs that. They need that edge.
And he does play with that edge, guys, and I think what's so neat about it is he's one of the youngest players on the team and perhaps the smallest player on the team, but he carries himself in a very big way, and it's something that his teammates appreciate. Adrian Beltre giving him a hard time today, congratulating him on the award and calling him feisty today. You know, he's a feisty one. And I think that's a great way to describe Rougned Odor, and I think it's something, you guys can speak to this better than I can, but you need to have a little bit of that edge, a little mean in you, a little, I don't know, chip on your shoulder, and so it's nice to see that it's coming from Rougned Odor.
No, you're definitely right, Ann. I don't know that mean is the kind of edge he has, but certainly the feisty part is there, and it's kind of in your face.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I think every team needs at least one player that the other team doesn't like.
Right.
You know, and that means that guy's going out there and just being, not like you said, not mean, but just a pest, a thorn in their side.
Sure.
And that's what Rui can do. And yeah, he can rub some guys the wrong way a little bit. You know, sometimes he can get a little excessive with the bat flip. You know, and some guys take exception to that, especially being a little guy. But he swings a big stick. So I love having a player like that that comes to the ballpark every day and just leave it all out there.
Well, during the Rangers' big years, 3 or 4 years where they went to the World Series twice, it was Ian Kinsler, same kind of guy.
Exactly.
Guys on the other team didn't like him. Fans in the other park noticed him. Bannister was talking about that in the press briefing today. He said when he hears fans in other parks booing him, then he knows that he's that kind of a player. He's done something to be noticed.
Up the middle, Gregorius, a short hop, and he still didn't know he had it until he turned around. And he throws out Chu.
Wow, perfect placement on that. Chu rips this ball right back up the middle.
Well, that's tough to make an out on a line shot hit right directly over second base.
Mercy.
The old days, there wouldn't have been someone within 20 feet of that ball.
No, 2 outs. Here's Prince Fielder for his third at bat. Prince 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground ball to first. He's out of play to the left. Yeah, and you go back to the teams, Tom, like you were talking about in 2010, 2011, 2012. You also throw Mike Napoli in there, and he was the same kind of guy that maybe not as vocal as Ian was, or as out going outside, I guess, to put that kind of edge. But he definitely was a guy that you didn't like if you were on the opposition.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, because I did not like him when he was with the Angels.
Yeah.
And I didn't play against him. So
it's funny how you draw those opinions about guys just on their body language.
Exactly.
You know, they're not doing anything illegal. They're not starting fights. They're not disrespecting the game, but it's just the little mannerisms that they have. As an opposing player, you say to yourself, you know what, I don't like that guy.
That guy's just a little too cocky.
You ever have a guy like that, and then you became a teammate of his? Can you think of anybody? I can't really think of anybody personally, but...
No, I really can't. I had it said to me when I left here and went to Seattle. Tom Lampkin, Mariners' backup catcher, he said, Mac, I used to hate your guts.
See, you took that as a compliment, right?
It threw me off because we'd always spoke, just hey, how you doing? How's it going? I go up to the plate, or we'd see each other out on the field. And I looked at him, I was like, this is like halfway through the season. And I was like, why? And for whatever reason, he called me G. He said, he called everybody G. But G, you always stuck it to us somehow, and then you'd run around the bases and sliding hard. And, it was that kind of guy. And I was like, wait a minute. You always talk to me. He said, yeah, but I didn't like you. So I was like, hey, sorry.
Kurt Diker just mentioned A.J. Przinsky. He might be the poster boy for that.
He is definitely the poster boy.
There hasn't been an opposing player in the history of baseball that liked him. There hasn't been a moment in time that he cared either.
Not 1 minute. I'm sure he's got some teammates that didn't like him.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say next, Mac. You're right. There's some guys on his own team that couldn't stand that because they caught flack for it.
All I know is I never saw a player in 1 year that got jammed more times than he did.
And wait.
He's got the strongest thumbs in the history of baseball.
And got hits.
Yeah, and found holes, boy, over third base. He's an amazing hitter. I really can't think of too many guys that swung it more pitches out of the strike zone than he did. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero obviously did, and Pudge swung at a lot of pitches, but
yeah, they didn't get jammed every time.
No, they
they got hits.
They didn't get jammed like that. He hit that one ball one time with a full swing that went about 40 feet in front of home plate, a little blooper, and stopped before the pitcher could get to it.
Well, Mitch takes the walk. Rangers with 2 outs now, making noise again. They were able to get 3 consecutive 2-out hits in the second for their 2 runs. It'll be up to Adrian Beltre with 2 on.
You know, the other thing about AJ, from our perspective anyway, from a media perspective, I would have felt about him the same way when he was with the White Sox. I couldn't stand him either. But then when he came over here, he was very personable, always very agreeable with the media. I having got to know him a little bit while he was here, I never would have thought that you would have thought that way about him.
Yeah.
Some guys just play that way, and that's the way people think about it. I think AJ went out of his way to make people think that about him.
Yeah,
I think that was his goal.
Yeah, especially the longer he played.
Yeah.
He knew it got under guys' skin, and that's exactly what he tried to do.
Beltre takes strike 1.
Yeah, Grudneg plays with an edge. He's not trying to get under people's skin. That's just the way he plays.
Well, as often as Brzezinski got booed in Las Vegas or Anaheim or wherever he happened to be, I'm impressed. I'd be proud if they were booing me every place like that and vehemently booing.
Yeah, you must be doing something.
Yeah. Here's Jason Shreve, the young left-hander we were talking about, part of that triumvirate down in the Yankee bullpen.
It turned out to be a good trade for the Yankees. He came over from the Braves in the offseason. Done a super job for them.
1 ball and 1 strike to Adrian. That ball is pounded to left center field, up the alley and deep. But Young has a play as the wind got it and brought it back in right at the edge of the warning track. And that'll do it. Adrian gave it a ride, but the Rangers come up empty. They leave 2 on after 5, 3-2 New York. Mac, thanks for joining us. We'll see you after the ball game on Rangers Live. All right. fans to pay the day both tomorrow, that's July 28th, and on Thursday, July 30th. Use the online coupon code PAYTHEDAY at TexasRangers.com and get 2 Upper Reserve tickets for $28 to tomorrow night's game, or 2 Upper Reserve tickets for $30 to the game on the 30th. Don't miss your chance to see the Rangers play these Yankees and pay the day. Matt Harrison working to Chris Young here in the top of the 6th inning. Yankees leading 3-2. 2 balls and a strike. Chris Young, a couple of fly balls to left field, one of them resulting in a sacrifice fly, and drove in the last run the Yankees have scored. Moreland over on the pop fly, reaching in but not quite far enough. Which would have needed an extension on his right arm to get that glove out there far enough. So 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, Matt Harrison, after a rocky third, really has settled in nicely, and kind of similar to the game that he had in Colorado, where things didn't start off smoothly necessarily. Matt able to avoid giving up any runs. He gets a strikeout here as Young window shopping on that pitch.
Caught the last 2 hitters looking with well-located fastballs.
And before Alex Rodriguez comes up, let's send it over to John Radigan for a Mazda game break. All right, John, thank you.
Buzz, we were talking in spring training when the odds came out at the beginning of the year. We were reading the newspaper, and some of the well-respected odds makers in Las Vegas picked Kansas City, what was it, to lose like 90 games or 85 games?
They said they were going to win between 74 and 76.
Yeah, after going to the World Series last year. That's how much they thought of Kansas City. Well, they must be sweating it out right now. As far as what they might be paying off in October after they picked up Johnny Cueto.
They're going to have a whole lot of accidents for that team not to win 90.
Yeah. And for the people, if they picked them to win that few games, they certainly had them as long odds to win the World Series. And right now, I think most people would look at them after getting Johnny Cueto as being maybe the favorite in the American League to go to the World Series. Being pretty close last year, and now with an ace,
right?
Who knows?
Yeah, and what a lot of people said they were missing last year was that ace. In the postseason.
They've got that now.
3-1, and Rodriguez shoots one to right field. That sends Chu back. He's at the wall. That ball's gone. Rodriguez going the other way with his 24th home run of the year, and the Yankees extend their lead to 4-2. Well, we have not seen a jet stream in effect in the ballpark this year very often, but I've got to think there was one there.
Well, when he was here for 3 years hitting all those home runs, he was obviously getting a little bit of help along the way, but still, I don't think we ever saw a right-hand hitter hit the ball out to right field like he did while he was here.
No, you're right.
And here's another example of it right there. A pitch tailing away, down and away. You don't expect to give up a home run on that pitch. It didn't look like a home run when he hit it off the end of the bat. But right now, he looks just as strong as he did back then.
Yeah, Mark Teixeira checking his swing. It's a strike anyway.
That's a home run in Yankee Stadium for sure.
Yeah, it is.
It was here tonight, too. Yankee Stadium tailor-made for that type of a ball from the right-hand hitter.
Teixeira, a high drive to right. Chu is back, settling under this one on the warning track, and makes the catch.
Difference between those two, Buzz, might have been the trajectory.
I think you're right. Our Ford leaderboard showing you the home runs in the month of July now in Major League Baseball. Mike Trout with 11 after his 2 home run game yesterday. Alex Rodriguez now with 9. And he is trailing Mike Trout by just a couple, but he's second in baseball. 6 career home runs on his birthday. That's the most in Major League history. Alex turning 40 years of age today. So 2 outs, bases empty. Brian McCann has a single and a pop out tonight. 1 out of 2. Inside corner for a strike. Matt Harrison, 91 pitches, 51 strikes, 40 balls. And McCann hits it right into the teeth of the shift. Odor on to first, and that will do it. Alex Rodriguez, though, extends the Yankee lead by a run. A blast to right, his 24th of the year. On to the bottom of the 6th, 4-2 New York. Brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $500 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Cliff Dickerson from McKinney will win $500. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Cliff is going to take home $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning, a new pitcher on the mound, and it is one of the pitchers that Tom talked about at the tail end of this Yankee bullpen, Chasen Shreve, 25-year-old left-hander from Las Vegas, Nevada, and out of the College of Southern Nevada. And he has been quite a find for the Yankees. Came over in a trade with the Atlanta Braves. Yankees acquiring Shreve and David Carpenter this past January in exchange for Manny Banuelos. And Shreve has just been a tough guy in the front end of the back end of the bullpen, if you will. Josh Hamilton leading off, and Shreve pulls the string. He gets a swinging strike 1.
Yeah, when you see a short reliever who's 6-1, there's a little bit of chance involved there, being in there at the right time. But when you see 22 hits in 38 innings, there's no chance involved there. They just don't score against him very much.
Yeah, if he's not giving up a lot of hits and he's striking out a lot of guys, almost 1 per inning, you got to figure he's pretty good.
Yep, pretty good. And so when he comes in, the other team doesn't score, and then he has to have a little bit of good fortune that his team tends to score the next inning. That's why he's 6-1. Whether he's 1-1, 6-1, or 0-0, the other numbers don't lie.
0-2 pitch. It bounces into home plate. Hamilton has singled and walked tonight. He scored a run. facing Chasen Shreve, a 6'3" left-hander. Very tall, slender left-hander. 185 is his weight. 2-2 now. Shreve originally was an 11th round pick in the 2010 draft by the Braves. Again, out of the College of Southern Nevada. Hamilton waiting. Shreve reading the sign from Brian McCann. Up the middle, right between Shreve's legs. And the shortstop, Gregorius, is there. Didi Gregorius getting a lot of play up the middle, right behind the bag. And he throws out Hamilton. One
solid
away.
Defensive positioning tonight for the Yankees.
Folks, on Saturday, August 15th, Rangers take on the Tampa Bay Rays. It's a 7:05 start. And the first 10,000 fans, 14 and under, or 14 and over, excuse me, will receive a Star Wars themed t-shirt courtesy of Takis. 4 different t-shirt designs will be available for you, so you can also enjoy appearances by Star Wars characters. Visit TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. Gregorius throws out his counterpart. Elvis retired on 1 pitch. 2 gone. The team will come up.
2 hard hit balls to start the 6th inning. Hamilton, a solid ground ball, looked like it was headed up the middle. Elvis almost pulled that in the hole. Both of them hit hard. I saw Chu hit a shot right straight up the middle over the bag that was turned into a backhanded 1-hop, short hop out. There's another ball looked like it was going up the middle. It did go up the middle. Unfortunately, a defensive man was there to catch it.
Leonis Martin, who is 1 for 2, takes high and away for ball 1. Martin, an RBI single back in the 2nd inning. Reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th. Leonis hitting at an even 220 now as he faces Shreve. Base is empty, 2 outs. And the pitch inside, 2-0. Leonis trying to get some offensive magic back. It has been a tough season for Leonis, kind of up and down. Early he had it going at times, and then he fell on some hard times. But in mid-May, in late May, he turned things around, really started swinging the bat well. And like many on the club, come late June, it was another offensive struggle. His struggle kind of coincides too the time he missed after he sprained his wrist down in Houston the first week in May. And that really was the start of what we've seen from Delino DeShields. DeShields filled in for Leonis Martin during that period, about 7 or 8 games. And Delino took off and never has looked back. Two and 2 with 2 outs. And the count is full.
Yeah, I would say that one of the biggest differences right now between Delino and Leonis is the fact that Delino can recognize the strike zone better than Leonis. He takes close pitches, he works a walk, has long at bats, doesn't swing at pitches out of the strike zone quite as frequently as Leonis does. Leonis more of a slashing hitter. Not what you would call the kind of hitter that makes the pitcher work.
Payoff pitch, call, strike 3. Martin on his way to first, and Jerry Neal said, no, grab your glove, you're going back to the outfield. 3 up, 3 down for Shreve. Rangers gone on the 6th after 6. Yankees 4, Rangers 2. Top of the 7th inning, and Matt Harrison is dealing to Carlos Beltran. First pitch outside for ball 1. Yankees with a 4-2 lead over the Rangers. Beltran has flied out and grounded out tonight. Matt back to the plate. It's a bit low, 2-0. Beltran, switch hitter up there from the right side, a 254 overall average. Veteran outfielder. And Matt missing wide with that one. 3 balls, no strikes. Harrison tonight has walked 1. He has registered a couple of strikeouts. 3-1. Actually, the only real problems he's had, gave up 3 runs in the 3rd inning and the home run in the 6th inning. Other than that, he's been very good against the Yankees, allowing 1 other hit. The Yankees able to put 3 hits and a walk together along with a sacrifice fly for 3 in the 3rd inning. 3-2 pitch to Beltran. Lost him. A leadoff walk. And Chase Headley will be next. Tonight's 4-game summary. Go back to the Rangers' 2nd inning as Elvis Andrus shoots one into the corner, drives home Josh Hamilton, first Ranger run. Then Leonis Martin right back through the middle for the RBI base hit. Rangers on top by 2. Back come the Yankees. They put 3 on the board in the 3rd, and the last run coming off the bat of Alex Rodriguez, his 24th home run of the year. That was in the 6th inning. Sam Freeman. This is the kind of night where it's not going to take long to get loose if you're a reliever. Until Sam's got a lot of perspiration on that head under his hat. And he probably did that just getting up to the mound. He's loose if needed. Mike Maddox out to talk to Matt Harrison. Harrison now at 98 pitches, so he's approaching that 100 mark. Chase Headley a single in 2 trips. Taking strike 1. Headley a single and a run scored in that 3rd inning. Headley one of 3 switch hitters in this Yankee lineup. Beltran at first, one of them. Teixeira, the first baseman, and then Headley, all switch hitters. Chase Headley came over from the San Diego Padres, you remember, last year in July when the Rangers, matter of fact, were playing in New York, playing the Yankees. Got Hervis Solarte sent to San Diego, and Headley came over to New York. First hit that Headley got, as a matter of fact, in a Yankee uniform was in the 14th inning, I believe it was, after a rain delay, and Yankee Stadium pretty much cleared out. Headley won the game in walk-off fashion. Ahead of the count here, 2 balls and a strike. To right field, Chu, long way to go, and he dives, he can't get it, it's by him, and all the way to the wall. Carlos Beltran being held up at 3rd. So it's going to be a double for Chase Headley. And that ball was slicing away from Chu and kind of dying, and it went by him. Fortunately, he was able to get to the ball quickly enough to prevent the run from scoring.
Yeah, there was a time where Carlos Beltran would have been standing at home plate by the time the ball got to the cutoff man earlier in his career. He was some kind of athlete. Boy, he could run. A little bit different time of his career right now. Hey, exactly right, Buzz. The ball's tailing away from him just enough to where even with a dive, he couldn't quite get to it.
Well, that's going to do it for Matt Harrison. Jeff Bannister out to take the ball from Matt, and 6 innings plus 2 hitters in the books for Harrison tonight. He leaves trailing 4-2 with a couple of runners on base, his responsibility. Sam Freeman making his way in from the bullpen. We'll tell you all about him when we come back right after this timeout. 1 for Game 2 of the series, right here at Globe Life Park against these New York Yankees. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Well, Sam Freeman, the 27-year-old left-hander, is on now to face Didi Gregorius. Runners at second and third and nobody out here in the 7th inning. Rangers will pull the infield all the way in. Freeman appearing for his 34th time this year, a 3.32 ERA. And the league hitting just .215 against him. There's a good look at the Ranger infield. Gregorius 1 for 2 with a 2-run home run. Little Looper is going to fall for a base hit. 1 run is home. Around third comes Headley. He will score. And on the first pitch, Gregorius delivers a 2-run single. It is 6-2 New York.
Well, Gregorius not known for his offense. Having a pretty good offensive game today, though. 2-run homer and a 2-run single. Came into the game with 21 RBIs. He's added 4 to that total right now.
Well, that'll close the book for Matt Harrison. All 6 runs on his ledger. They are all earned tonight. So Matt, 6 innings plus, 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Brendan Ryan, the second baseman, will face Freeman. Sam pours in strike 1. Ryan tripled in the 3rd inning. Came in to score. 1 out of 2 tonight. Freeman a check of first. Took something off there and had Ryan out in front.
You know, when you look at the Yankees coming into the season this year, I think most people that were forecasting where teams would finish before the season started said this about the Yankees: they have a chance to be a good team. They can be a contender. The biggest question is, with the veterans in their lineup, can they stay healthy? And by that they were talking about Beltran, who has for the most part been healthy, missed I think 10 or 11 games on the disabled list, but that's all. But A-Rod, Teixeira, who missed time for various reasons over the last couple of years. Stephen Drew is getting on in his career, and Jacoby Ellsbury, who has missed some time on the disabled list. I think for the most part they're veteran guys whose health might have been questioned have stayed healthy enough for them to have played good baseball. The other thing is they're 13 games over 500, which is a solid record. But the biggest thing you can say about the Yankees' success and where they are in the standings, 6.5 games in first place, is the fact that no one else in the division, the Eastern Division, is over 500.
Right.
That's pretty unusual.
Yep.
So they're playing some good baseball. They've stayed healthy, and no one in the division's playing particularly well, which adds up to a 6.5 game lead.
Leonis Martin handles that line drive off the bat of Brendan Ryan for out number 1. It'll bring up Brett Gardner. Yeah, and, you know, we saw Toronto not too long ago, prior to the All-Star break, and they were playing up and down, and they have continued to do that. Baltimore has fallen back. They were playing well at one point, but not well enough. Tampa Bay and Boston. Boston maybe the biggest disappointment in the American League, right there with Seattle.
It's been so many years where you say, well, you better win your division because the wild card's coming out of the East. And that's not true anymore.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay was playing some great baseball, but when you looked at their lineup, it was hard to figure out exactly how they were going to do it for 6 months. They did it for a while with their pitching. Toronto's the frustrating team. They've got at times the kind of lineup that looks like you just can't beat them. But as the Rangers found out off and on for many years, you can have the best lineup in the world, but when you face a top pitcher, top couple of pitchers on any given team, they can shut down a good lineup. And if you don't have the pitching and defense to keep the game scored, keep the score of the game low, you're going to have a hard time beating those teams, no matter what your lineup is. You look at some of those Ranger teams with Pudge and Juan and Raffy, and before that, Julio Franco. Brian Downing is a leadoff hitter. There's so many offensive players that when you face the third, fourth, and fifth starters, he scored 7 or 8 runs. But when you face Roger Clemens and you can only get a couple of runs, you just have to have the pitching that can keep those games close and give you a chance to win. Toronto just hasn't been able to come up with that.
I think the Ranger fans will remember the first 3 trips to the postseason the Rangers made ran into the Yankees and their pitching, which was pretty good.
Exactly.
Rangers scored, I think it was a total of 1 run the first 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, the only series where they had some runs was when Juan hit a bunch of home runs and scored a bunch of runs. Darren Oliver pitched that great game back here. I can't remember. He might have had a 2-0 lead late in the game, and they scored a couple of runs late. But basically in postseason play, generally speaking, the teams that are in it have top 1 and 2 starters. And you're going to face them 4 times in 7 games, sometimes 4 times in 5 games. And no matter what kind of lineup you've got, you're going to have a hard time scoring when you face that kind of pitching. You better have some pitching and defense that can stop them, too.
Pitch inside to Gardner's 2-1.
Well, you hear Billy Beane say, generally the best teams win over 162 games, but once you get to the postseason, that's not necessarily the team that's tailor-made for 162 games might not be tailor-made for the postseason.
Right.
You can have 5 good starters and depth in your rotation that carries you through 6 months, but it might not get you through a 5-game series if you don't have an ace. That's why what we were talking about, Buzz, with Johnny Cueto going to Kansas City is such a big deal for them, because he can shut down anybody. The rest of their starters, I don't think you could say that about him.
Yeah.
Ventura looked like he might be that kind of guy, but he hasn't been this year.
Well, and there's the other part of that Cueto, is that he might be able to have an influence on Yordano Ventura that nobody else has.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Because he went through the same kinds of things, I think, that Ventura is as a young pitcher, trying to deal with all the various things of some celebrity.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City's not I didn't think of it, but I bet you they're thinking the same thing. So you talk about a bonus.
Yeah.
If you get him to pitch well for you, and he unlocks the key to the success for Ventura, man, you've been an MVP.
It's a double payback.
Yeah.
Elvis handles a little pop-up off the bat of Brett Gardner for out number 2. Staying at first is Gregorius. It'll bring up Chris Young.
I remember how the Rangers felt. You could feel it in the clubhouse when Cliff Lee came over here.
Yep.
And they got the ace. It's like, all right, now we can beat anybody because he can shut you down. I'm sure Kansas City's feeling the same way with Johnny Cueto.
And as the Rangers found out in 2010 when Lee came over, not only for the regular season, but he made the team tailor-made for the postseason.
Yeah. I remember that game he pitched in Tampa Bay.
Yep. And Young, first ball swinging. Towering pop-up that Elvis is backpedaling for. He'll handle that. And that'll do it. But the Yankees add on 2. They get 2 runs on 2 hits and lead 1. We'll take the 7th inning stretch here at Arlington. The Yankees leading 6-2. That's a $1 hot dog happy hour. It's on Wednesday, and up to game time, from the time the gates open, it'll be $1 hot dog happy hour. $1 dogs available from the gates opening until 7 o'clock while supplies last. Good seats still available for all the Yankee games. Visit TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. Come on out on Wednesday night for the happy hour with $1 hot dogs. Rangers come to bat here in the bottom of the 7th inning, and Robinson Chirinos facing Jason Shreve. Takes strike one. Shreve worked a 1-2-3 6th inning. Chirinos 0 for 2, a strikeout and a ground out. Shreve back to the plate. 0-2. Yankees 6 runs on 7 hits, 1 error. Rangers 2 runs on 5 hits and no errors. Chirinos trying to get something going here as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. Can he get on base? 0-2 pitch. Robinson brought a 4-game hitting streak into play here tonight. He has been pretty much the model of consistency for the Rangers for the last several weeks. Done a great job behind the plate. And once Carlos Corcoran was forced to go on the disabled list with that bad left thumb, the workload for Robinson really picked up a lot. He's out on strikes here. They're out recorded at first. 1 away, now back to the top of the order for Rougned Odor. And before Odor steps in, let's send it over to John Radigan for a Mazda game break. All right, John, thank you. Interesting week that we have in front of us, Tom, with a trading deadline coming up.
I think most people think there's going to be a lot of moves. A lot of teams could benefit by their moves, and there seems to be a lot of players that could be available, too.
Yeah, when John was just talking about the Tigers, they come to mind immediately. I had a lot of talk about Dave Dombrowski maybe holding a fire sale, but at least thinking about David Price and maybe Yoenis Cespedes.
You know, the one thing about it is if teams feel like they have to make the trade, like if Cole Hamels needs to get traded right now, and if David Price needs to get traded right now, Johnny Cueto just got traded, maybe it lowers the price. There's more really good players available, which, you know, there's a certain amount of teams in the market for them. There's very few teams that are willing to make the same kind of trade, for instance, that the Braves made, where they unloaded all those great young players for Mark Teixeira. Right. So most teams won't trade you their best 1 or 2 guys. So maybe, you know, with those guys available, if Price and Hamels are available, maybe the market's favorable for making that kind of a trade right now. I don't know. From the Ranger perspective, it would appear that Hamels is more attractive than David Price, because they would have him under control for the next few years, and he couldn't be a free agent like Price can. We might have to pay a little more to get him.
Yeah, my feeling for the Rangers, I mean, they're not, I don't think they would be in a position now to say, okay, if we get players A and B, we're going to be contenders this year. I think there are too many other things that go into besides just two spots that they need to fill. But I think if you look at a guy like Hamels, where not only can he help you this year and make your pitching staff better, he's going to be there for 3 years.
Yeah,
and that's
a huge difference.
Yeah. Now that would make sense,
because that trade, you sell that trade to the players, to the fans. Look, we're getting one of the best pitchers, and we're trying to win right now. And by the way, if it works, great. But if it doesn't, the bonus is we've got him for the next few years. So hopefully, Darvish is back, Derek Holland's back, and now you plug in the starters that are here now with Cole Hamels, and it starts to look pretty good for next year. That plays into it. And from the Phillies standpoint, it plays into what they're asking for him, too. I don't think you can ask as much for David Price as you can for Cole Hamels, unless the team is just all in right now and they're going to do whatever it takes. And then, of course, David Price is probably the guy you want.
1-1 pitch to Shin-Soo Choo. Did he go around? No, he did not. The appeal down to the third base umpire, Paul Emmel. Well, if you got Hamels too, at least you'd have a left-hander that pitched in Philadelphia whose wife liked living here.
Well, that's true. Didn't think of that.
You can sell that. You can sell that to the folks too. Just a little shot at Cliff Lee.
Yeah, well.
Going outside, 3 balls and a strike.
Well, you can watch Shreve pitch, and this guy's got a good assortment of pitches. It looks like a soft tosser with all the soft pitches he throws, but then he pops his fastball in there at 91 miles an hour, and he's got a little bit of juice on his fastball, too.
Jew waiting. Shreve back with a 3-1. Looks like a guy that if you're a left-handed hitter and you only see him one time during a ball game, it's going to be a little tough to dial him in.
Yeah, he's got what can get a left-hand hitter out for sure, and with the off-speed pitches, pretty tough on righties. He's not one of those guys who's strictly a situational guy to come in to face a lefty. Got the pitches that can get a righty out too.
He is ready. Now the payoff pitch coming. Inside, ball 4. He walks Jew. It's the first base runner that Shreve has given up. No 1-on-2 out. Prince Fielder coming up. Justin Wilson out in the New York bullpen. Looks like he is ready if needed. Fielder 1 for 3 tonight. Singled his last time up. That was back in the 5th. It's jammed and fights it off foul. Nothing in 1. Fielder at 337 with the average, right where he began play tonight. Prince with a .671 career slugging percentage against the Yankees. That's highest among active players. And what he was able to do that first trip in New York this year didn't hurt that at all. He went 8 for 14 against the Yankees with a lot of damage. 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 9 runs driven in 3 games. And hitting in a ballpark that he's had very good success in. He is 6th in the American League for home average at 346. 0-2 pitch coming from Shreve.
Now, the other thing about Cole Hamels, you'd have to think if the Rangers are in on it, like is speculated, and the Dodgers are another team, both the Rangers and the Dodgers have prospects that if they were willing to give up who the Phillies wanted, that trade already would have been made. Yeah. Both teams have those guys, so I would tell you right now that neither team is willing to give up the best guys that the Phillies might want. At least that's what it appears to those of us who don't have the slightest idea what's really going on behind the scenes.
Well, that would make sense, though. I mean, you know, this time, whether if you're going to make a trade and everything's agreeable to everybody, you make it 2 weeks before the deadline or a week before the deadline. You know, you're right. It probably would have been made by now.
The sooner you make it, the more benefit you've got.
Sure.
From Kansas City's point of view, if they could have made that a day ahead of time, they get Johnny Cueto. Instead of pitching 8 innings of shutout ball, whatever it was for Cincinnati, maybe he does that
right
for Kansas City. The sooner you get the pitcher, the better off it is. He's only got so many starts left over the last couple of months of the season, maybe 8, maybe 9. And so every time you miss one of those starts, that's 10 or 12% of the time you're going to have them that's you've just lost. Not counting postseason if you get there.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Got him swinging. Shreve pulling the string, gets the strikeout. He strikes out the side. Mixed in there was a walk to Jew. Major Strander runner. We're going to the 8th inning. Yankees 6, Rangers 2. Fox Sports Southwest.
Ladies in town, I thought we'd call on a good friend. This is Dawn. She grew up in Queens, New York, converted to a Rangers fan, and now she has her 80s gab on because she just wanted to relive her New York days. What's this about, Dawn?
That's right, Jim. Hey, I've been all about Rangers.
Got a promo for the Fox Sports live show?
So we apologize for the audio difficulties we were having, and come back to live action with Phil Klein. Now Phil just recalled from AAA Round Rock, Anthony Bass optioned to AAA. That was the move prior to today's ball game. Klein on now facing Alex Rodriguez, and has a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Klein up for his 3rd go-around with the Rangers. This is his 9th appearance at the big league level. Opponent sitting at 296 against a tall right-hander out of Youngstown State University in Ohio. 1-2 pitch to Rodriguez. Now 2-2. Phil's last outing with the Rangers came in a spot start back on May 25th at Cleveland. And call strike 3. You got Alex looking for his first strikeout.
Well located slider right at the bottom of the strike zone. Fooled Alex.
Now Mark Teixeira, former Ranger, and a switch hitter, turning around to hit from the right side, or the left side, I should say, against the right-hander. And he takes strike 1. Teixeira robbed in the 2nd inning by Leonys Martin, who went up over the wall right in front of the Yankees bullpen. Bring the ball back into the ballpark. Teixeira is also lined to short and fly to right field. Home runs all time by switch hitters. Of course, Mickey Mantle, the great Yankee, tops the list at 536. Eddie Murray, Chipper Jones, the next 3. Adrian Beltre can't quite get there. His dive came up short, and Mark Teixeira with a 1-out single is aboard. And Teixeira is pretty used to having that shift on against him, and anytime he gets the opportunity, he'll just play pepper with that shortstop that's not there.
Well, he's hit a couple of balls hard. He had the ball up against the left center field wall that Martin went up and caught. Then he had a line shot, hit even harder than that, right at Elvis. Ended up getting the base hit on the bouncer that just eluded Adrian's glove.
Ryan McCann, now the Yankee catcher, going after that first pitch and fouls it back. McCann 1 for 3 tonight. He's popped out, grounded out, and singled to right field.
McCann was a big free agent signing by the Yankees. Got a lot of money to catch for the Yankees. They liked his left-handed swing in Yankee Stadium, and definitely worked that way. He's hit 38 home runs last year and this year for the Yankees, and 30 of them have been in Yankee Stadium.
Klein with the 0-1 pitch. Out of play down the left side. Yeah, there was a little concern, if I remember right, the first part of last year about McCann. It wasn't pulling the ball, and it was as if to say, "What are we getting for?" Singles.
A lot of room out in left field in Yankee Stadium. Hit it to right.
But he certainly made the adjustment pretty quickly.
Yeah, he hit 23 last year for the Yankees.
Klein with the 0-2 pitch. This one skied to shallow right center. Odor going out, making the call, and Rugnet handles it for out number 2. Well, folks, it's time now for tonight's T-Mobile Strong Fan. Our selection for tonight. Comes to us from Chad. And Chad, we appreciate it. Gallo, Fielder, and Moreland. Pretty good middle of the order. Holland, excuse me. Chad, thank you very much. If you folks would like to tweet your photo, you might get it seen on one of our upcoming broadcasts. Hashtag Southwest Data Strong Fan. Carlos Beltran 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. We mentioned one of the 3 switch hitters in the Yankee lineup. Beltran on that list also of all-time home runs. He is right behind Mark Teixeira, his teammate. Tom told you Beltran coming up, a great athlete when he first came up with Kansas City. Good run, throw, great center fielder. Hit for power.
He's one of those guys. You took one. If you watched his team warm up and you'd never seen his team play before, you could pick him out of the 25 guys on the team.
Yeah.
That's the way he looked in his uniform. He just looked like an athlete.
And Phil Klein loses him on 4 pitches.
He was one of the more successful base stealers. He's a guy that could steal 30 or 40 bases and get thrown out only 3, 4, or 5 times.
So 2 on, 2 out. Folks, watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and a lot more. Every night on every device. Blackouts and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. First pitch is inside to Chase Headley. Headley's had a big night. He's 2 for 3 with a single and a double, and he's scored a couple of runs. Robinson Chirinos, they go out and give a little pep talk to Phil Klein. Headley now a .266 average for the year. Yankees signed Headley to a long-term deal, 4-year contract this year. They are pretty satisfied with what he has given them at third base. Teixeira at second. Carlos Beltran at first. 2 outs, top of the 8th inning. One and one. Klein okays the sign, a check of the second. And deal strike 2. Well, you mentioned the pitching matchup tomorrow night. Martin Perez for the Rangers. Still to be announced by the Yankees. They're leaning toward Chris Capuano, especially if the left-hander didn't have to throw tonight. They said that they would most likely turn to him, although that's not set in stone. In that case, it'll be the battle of left-handers. Little looper in the center field. That's going to fall for a base hit. Teixeira around third. Here comes a throw to the plate. They got him at home plate. Leonis Martin guns down the slow-moving Mark Teixeira at home plate by quite a bit. And Tex a little upset about that.
He can't believe the catch he made. Now he can't believe he threw him out. He's killing him.
No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. After 7.5, 6-2 New York.
here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. This is the opener of a 4-game series between the Rangers and the Yankees. Game 2 here tomorrow night at Globe Life Park, but it will not be here on Fox Sports Southwest. It will move over to Fox Sports 1. Same first pitch time, though, 7 o'clock. There you see a couple of the hot-hitting principals in this one. Mark Teixeira, who was just not very happy in the last half inning, and Prince Fielder, who is most always happy. Guys, thanks to the folks at AT&T Uverse for bringing us this timely and valuable information.
All right, and thank you. Now, as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning, Rangers come to bat, and they will be facing a new left-hander, Justin Wilson. On the hill now, Wilson, 27-year-old, appearing in his 46th ball game. He's been used extensively. 3-0 is his record. Opposition in just 205 against Wilson out of Fresno State College. Mitch Moreland is 1 out of 2 this evening. Had a double off the left field wall back in the 4th. Last time up in the 5th, drew a walk.
We talked about the 3 relievers at the end of the game for the Yankees. Justin Wilson's not having too bad a year. He has a 2.57 ERA. He's 3-0. 35 innings, only 25 hits, 205 opponent's batting average, mid-90s fastball, and a strikeout per inning. I'd say the Yankees have a pretty good bullpen going for him right now.
That's pretty well loaded down there, isn't it?
We didn't even mention Wilson.
No. Probably should have.
He should have been right up there with the rest of them. He's a little bit more of a situational guy. 45 games, 35 innings than Shreve is. Man, he's been effective in his role.
Well, Mitch is finding out that Wilson can get the ball up to you in a hurry.
Yes, sir.
Wilson, a little over 6'2". He's about 205 pounds. Stockily built left-hander that has a very quick arm action, kind of a short arm action. Tries the breaking ball inside and missed. New center fielder Jacoby Ellsbury out for part of the ball game. Back in there now, playing in center field, and moving from center over to left is Brett Gardner. Chris Young over in right field now. A little bit low. And the count goes full to Mitch. Moreland trying to get aboard to start the Ranger comeback here in the 8th inning. He'll be followed by Adrian Beltre.
Yankees acquired Wilson for Francisco Cervelli from the Pirates. So 2 key trades, under the radar trades. One with Pittsburgh, one Atlanta, brought Wilson and Shreve, their 2 late inning lefties who had pitched well for him.
Let's go back to the play that ended the last half inning.
It's 2 outs, so the third base coach sends Teixeira. Martin makes a perfect throw, and it looks like Tex is extremely upset. I thought he was just mad that he got thrown out by Martin. It appears that he's yelling at third base coach, Buzz. I'm not sure. Headley's upset because he thought he had an RBI.
Yeah. No doubt about that.
The Yankees have a 6-2 lead. They get a base hit, and they got an extremely upset hitter because he didn't get an RBI. I'm not positive what Tex was upset at. At first, I thought he was saying, Martin robbed me in center field. Now he throws me out at the plate. What's going on? But looking at it again, it looked like that anger was more directed toward the third base coach.
Well, judging from that replay we saw, he ought to be angry that he wasn't running full speed. Coming down the line from third.
Well, I'm not sure if he has any kind of an injury. I don't know if that affected it or not. But all things being equal, if he does have an injury and it's that late in the game, then
probably shouldn't be in there, huh?
Well, maybe not. But if there's no injury, that might have been the only time in history that a third base coach didn't send a guy on a blooper to left field with 2 outs. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but it does appear Tex was upset with the third base coach. The guy that ended up being just as mad was Headley. He thought he had a base hit and an RBI.
He did have a base hit, but no run driven in. That's the bad part.
Yep.
1 ball and 1 strike, the count to Adrian Beltre. Moreland now at second after that wild pitch. Adrian 0 for 3 tonight. Chops that pitch foul, and the count goes to 1-2. Beltre at 256 with the average.
Now, if there's no injury, and if Tex is not injured, then I think he has to put himself in the position of Headley. And if Headley was on second base and didn't score on his hit, how would he have felt?
Exactly. Another chopper foul at home plate.
You know, if the third base coach on that play held someone up at third base and you're the hitter, I think you'd be shocked with 2 outs. It's not like it's a 15-1 game. It's a 6-2 game where anything can happen. The third base coach, he has to send the runner right there. You can't count on Martin, even Martin with the arm he's got, coming up and making that throw. That ball, if that throw is a foot off here or there, then Tex scores. It just turned out to be a perfect strike.
Wilson again with a 1-2 pitch. Adrian giving them all he wants on this at bat. Beltre had several at bats on the road like this, where he was fouling off good pitch after good pitch, or tough pitch after tough pitch. Got one to hit, and invariably turned it into a base hit. Adrian's still wearing that support for the left wrist. Probably will for the remainder of this year. It's going to be probably into the winter before that's really 100%. Another 1-2 pitch. Jammed him a bit. Gregorius will fire on to Teixeira. That is out number 1. Moreland staying at second. Now Josh Hamilton coming up. Josh tonight 1 out of 2. He's had a single, a walk, and a ground out. Josh saying the other day that he was starting to feel a little more like himself in the batter's box. Still a little bit inconsistent. I'm sure he kind of wonders from at bat to at bat what he's going to have to deal with.
Well, watching the games, Buzz, it sure looked like at the end of the one game in Houston where he hit the 3 ropes in a row. It sure looked like he was feeling good that game, and you hoped it carried over.
And it looked like it did for the first at bat of the next game. Hit the ball hard, got a base hit, and then all of a sudden lost it. And it's hard to. I think that's what he was talking about. He's starting to feel more like himself, but not there yet.
Right. Yeah, we saw him in his heyday get locked in one time for 3 months. He hit about 410 for 3 solid months. Now, that's almost 300 at bats. So we've seen him get locked in before. And it might not happen quite at that magnitude, but certainly at a rate that's able to contribute strongly to the Ranger offense.
And Gregorius going to go ahead and have a little chat with Justin Wilson. That and have a little chat and get a little rosin on your arm. 2 balls and 1 strike. Mitch Moreland, the runner at second. Rangers trailing by 4 here in the 8th inning. Hamilton shoots one out of play to the left, and the count evens. Wilson, the third pitcher used tonight by Joe Girardi. Ivan Nova with the first 5, gave up both Ranger runs on 5 hits. Jason Shreve came in. Hamilton gone on strikes. That is out number 2.
Good fastball by Wilson, 95 miles an hour. Oh, he painted the outside corner with it.
So 2 away, and Elvis Andrus coming up again. Elvis 1 out of 2. and an RBI double in the second. Scored a run also in that frame. Hit by a pitch in the fourth, and then grounded to short his last time. That was in the sixth. Still trying to pick up Mitch Moreland from second base. 1 ball, no strikes. Wilson studying the signs from Brian McCann as Elvis waits. A ball and a strike. Rangers swept the series in New York, and that extended the winning streak that the Rangers have against the Yankees to 4 straight. And that's the longest winning streak they've had since back in 2010 and 2011. Last time they won more than 4 straight against New York, you have to go back to 1993. They had 5 straight against the Bronxers. Line drive, Henry. A step to his left, and he spares it. Boy, Elvis hit that ball right on the nose, has nothing to show for it. Rangers strand a runner. We're going to the ninth, 6-2 in favor of the Yankees.
A nice night for a comeback, too. The Rangers are going to need one in the 9th inning. John Radigan here at the Captain Morgan Club. We're getting ready for Rangers Live. I'll be joined tonight by Mark McLemore and our newcomer, and that is Darren Oliver. You remember him from a couple of stints, 3 stints with the Rangers. He joins us tonight on Rangers Live. As we break this all down, we'll get you lots of post-game reaction. And we remind you that tomorrow night's game will not involve any of us because it'll be on Fox Sports 1. We'll look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday night.
All right, John, thank you. Well, Phil Klein back out to the hill facing Didi Gregorius to start off the top of the 9th inning. Gregorius had a pretty good night. He is 2 for 3, a home run and a single. He has driven in 4 runs tonight. Up to his RBI total to 25. That's a career high in RBI for Gregorius. 2-0 pitch. That's out of play to the left. Phil gave up a base hit, or 2 base hits, and a walk in the 8th inning. But Leonis Martin bailed him out by throwing out a surprised and upset Mark Teixeira at home plate to end the inning. 2-1 pitch on the way. Line drive to left field for a base hit. Gregorius 3 for 4. Well, folks, make plans now to meet Ranger Delino DeShields at the Whataburger on Sycamore School Road. That's this Wednesday. Don't miss this chance to win great prizes and meet one of your favorite Texas Rangers, Delino DeShields, at Whataburger. There's Delino getting the night off. Sitting next to guy has become a pretty good friend of his. Prince Fielder's kind of taken Delino under his wing, and Delino effusive in the praise for Prince Fielder being a mentor and a friend. You just have a bond that you really can't begin to set up. It's very special. It happened for them. A similar upbringing, and I think they have the chemistry to get together. And Prince has really done a great job with Delino.
Yeah, what a great opportunity for Delino. You get to the big leagues maybe a little sooner than you expected, earned the right to be here by the way you played in spring training, and then get to be mentored by a pro like Prince Fielder. And it's got to be rewarding for Prince to be able to give back to a young player. I'm sure he encountered players that helped him along the way.
Right.
Both of them have dads that played in the big leagues. But there's nothing like having someone that is older than you, that's been there, that has the experience, that can give you that kind of counsel.
It looked like Prince was talking to him about how to get hit by a pitch. There goes Gregorius. Hit and run is on. Odor didn't commit himself too early, so he's able to get back and take Brendan Ryan's ground ball. But Gregorius to second now. He's there with one out. Prince took one on the arm yesterday, and the ball was bruised. I know it had to be. It got him on the tricep. And you look at it and see how big Prince's triceps are. That ball was screaming after it left him. But Delino took one the other day and kind of tried to go into it, and he missed it. And Prince looked like he was trying to show him how to do it.
Prince has got a little more meat on his arms, though. You know, if I'm Delino, I'm not willing to take the same kind of ball in the arm that Prince takes. I love the look on Prince's face while Delino was illustrating his approach. Had the smile of a proud father almost. Watching his kid talk.
That's right. Emily has some more info. Em?
You know, it's interesting that you say that. Right as you said that, I thought that's the way he looks at Jaden and Haven. His two boys are in the clubhouse all the time. And they're always at Delino's locker, and Delino's always giving him a hard time. So you see, you know, that relationship that Delino experienced that, you know, at the level that he did, and he wants to pass that along to Prince's kids. So, and I know Prince appreciates it, but it is a neat relationship to watch because there aren't very many guys who can identify with each other the way those two can, right?
No, you're right.
That's great.
And it's like a father and son almost, except it's contemporaries that, you know, obviously they respect each other's abilities at the big league level. But anytime that you start getting a close relationship with somebody and you're teaching them at the same time, it's very beneficial for both of them. I mean, that's the greatest thing that I've ever felt was being able to teach younger players how to pitch. I mean, that was more
rewarding.
More rewarding for me than it was for them by a long stretch.
Well, I bet you Prince feels the same way.
Sure.
And if I'm Delino's dad, Delino DeShields Sr., who was a fine big league player, and I'm watching the game right now, and I see Delino confiding in Prince like that, I'm thinking, man, how lucky is he to have that relationship.
Nice play by Beltre. Boy, no hesitation. Adrian knew exactly where Gregorius was and came up and caught him in between out there. He goes, you go 5.65 or 5.45.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, 5.6.
5.6.
Nice job. Well executed rundown too. Just the two throws. That was it.
Yep, because you've got a good runner in Gardner, and if you botch that rundown play and take 5 or 6 throws, then Gardner ends up second base and really didn't get the benefit of the play.
So 2 outs. Gardner now at first in place of Gregorius. And the pitch outside to Chris Young. Young 0 for 3 tonight. Had a sacrifice fly in the third. Other than that, has popped out, flied out, and struck out. Phil Klein peering in for the sign. 1-0 pitch. Drove back to first.
Fan saw the daylight.
Yeah, sure did. So did Robinson. A ball and a strike, the count. That's a play where the first baseman and catcher lets the first baseman know. Or they discuss it between themselves by eye contact, and there may be a little sign in there. So the first baseman's aware of a pitch. If there's a pitch that the catcher can handle and throw easily to first base, then the first baseman's aware that he may do that. Two balls and a strike. Count evens at 2-2. Chris Young, a .253 average as he faces Phil Klein. Phil, the third pitcher employed tonight. Matt Harrison with the first 6 innings plus 2 hitters in the 7th. Sam Freeman came in, worked an inning, gave up a hit. And now Phil Klein working his 2nd inning here tonight. There goes Gardner. The pitch is lined to left, a base hit. Gardner will stop at 2nd. Well, Chris Young with his first hit of the night. 2 on, 2 outs. And Alex Rodriguez coming up. Dylan Betances is throwing. He is the big, tall right-hander. Nick Goody, the other right-hander, throwing down there.
Probably depends what the score is in this game as to who's coming in, I would guess.
Alex Rodriguez, 4th player in Major League history to hit a home run in his teens and in his 40s. Ty Cobb, Rusty Staub, Gary Sheffield, and the others. Flying a long look back at 2nd. Now the first pitch to Rodriguez is low and inside. Alex's home run in the 6th inning, an opposite field blast. His 24th of the year. He has now driven in 59 runs. That catches the inside corner. Phil with that front door breaking ball. .26-year-old Phil Klein goes 6 feet 7 inches tall out there. Couldn't stop his swing. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Alex Rodriguez trying to use a little Adrian Beltre there. It doesn't look quite the same.
No. Only one Adrian.
Yeah. Now the 1-2. Ouch. Elvis will throw out Rodriguez. That will do it. Yankees no runs on 2 hits. They strand 2. We're going to the bottom of the ninth at Grove Live Park. It's the Yankees 6 and the Rangers 2 on Fox Sports Southwest. Is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer to kick off the summer right. Ford is the best in Texas. Now we go to the ninth inning, and with a 4-run differential, Joe Girardi has gone to one of his 2 late inning specialists. This is the big right-hander, Dylan Betances. This rather large, imposing man on the mound. It goes 6'8", about 265 pounds, and he throws every bit as hard as he looks like he would. So you see some big guys that don't throw all that hard. Well, this guy does.
He can bring the heat.
Yes, he can.
He's also got a pretty good slider, too. I remember that.
Yep. About 83 strikeouts in 52 innings. And the first pitch to Leonis Martin is low and outside for ball 1. Martin 1 for 3 tonight. Getting the start in center field. Martin had an RBI single in the second. 1 ball and 1 strike. Betances, a New York City product, as a matter of fact. The Yankees took him in the 8th round of the 2006 draft. And right out of their own backyard, and they have a good one here. Betances last year in 70 ball games with New York went 5-0, a 1.4 ERA. Struck out 135 hitters in 90 innings.
Man, they're pretty much on pace for the same thing.
This is low to Martin. It's 3 balls and a strike. Tomas Teles, switch hitting catcher, out in the on-deck circle. Grabbed the bat and will apparently hit for Robinson Chirinos. And Martin draws the leadoff walk. No, Rangers get the base runner. They need a couple of them. Teles will come up as a pinch hitter for Chirinos. Robinson took an 0 for 3 tonight. So Teles coming off the bench. Young switch hitter, a .222 average with a couple of RBI. Betances misses low for ball 1. Daly's had a couple of pinch hitting assignments, went 0 for 2 in them. There goes Martin. He will be given second base defensive indifference as Betances fires a strike. Well, that removes the force play at second base. Joe Girardi of Betances, he said, we might have had to overuse him a bit last year. We tried to manage his innings as best we could, but that was one of the reasons they went out and got Andrew Miller. Miller's settled into the closing role. They wanted to protect Betances a little bit if they possibly could. And it looks like what he's been able to do this year, that is paying off. He hasn't allowed an earned run in his last 27 appearances on the road. And speaking of the left-hander, Andrew Miller, there he is. He is the de facto closer for the Yankees, right ahead of Betances. 2 balls and a strike to Taillise. Off the end of the bat, Headley to first, 1 gone. Staying at second, Leonis Martin, and now back to the top of the order for Rougned Odor. Odor tonight 0 for 4. Getting the start in the leadoff spot. Rougned is grounded out a couple of times, popped out, and struck out. Rangers still just with 5 hits this evening. It looks like Betances has got it dialed in. That was 98 and right down the middle. Odor at 266 now with the average. Right-handers ready, a check of Martin. That curveball that, well, it's 14 miles an hour slower, plus it goes straight down. So if the off speed doesn't get you, the break will. Man. You wouldn't have make much of a living if you had to face this guy one time every single day.
No, not many people are.
Not with that stuff. Tried that hard breaking ball again, and the count goes full.
That call it a
slider.
That is more of a power curveball, isn't it?
Yeah. Betances looking back at second, now comes to the plate. Got him swinging. On to first, that is out number 2. It'll be up to Shin-Soo Choo.
There's a lot of guys that throw mid-90s fastballs and above mid-90s fastballs, and that's pretty tough to hit. But when you add that pitch to it, that's a strikeout pitch. You have to be ready for a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. You have to be geared up to have a quick bat. You're thinking about it, and it makes it almost impossible to hit that pitch. Hitters hit 100 against him.
Yeah.
It is almost impossible.
That's why he strikes out 14 1/4 hitters for every 9 innings. And that's ridiculous.
It doesn't do you any good to look for that pitch because you can't hit it anyway.
Here's Choo, and it's outside for ball 1. Choo reached with a walk in the 7th inning. He's 0 for 3 officially. Well, as they like to say, a guy like Betances makes a pitching coach very smart.
And a manager, too.
And a manager, too, yeah. Chopper behind the bag at first. Teixeira to Betances, and that will do it. Well, the Yankees, who struck for 3 in the third inning, go on to win it here tonight as they add on in the 6th and 7th. The final score 6-2. The Yankees firing the first shot across the bow in this series. We will come back to Globe Life Park to wrap things up for you right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.